press go live, so it should be going live.
Oh shit.
Okay, it says we're now streaming.
Okay,
Oh.
awesome. Oh yeah, it does. Meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. Okay, hi guys. It is Marcia Sheehan with Honest Convos with Karen and Marcia, and we are so excited to share with you today Convos Continued. This is a new feature that we've added to hit people on video because, you know, sometimes people don't like listening to podcasts, so we're going to try to get you everywhere. So today we have Kerri Richardson, and she is our first guest. We are so thrilled to have her because she's a really big deal. And I've known her professionally for a couple of years now. And so I'm going to read you her bio, and Karen's going to share this out to some other places, and then it's going to be really flawless. Like the whole situation is going to be very fluid. Right, Kerri? Right, Kerri?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's so far so good. Okay, so Kerri is a trained life coach and the best-selling author of What Your Clutter is Trying to Tell You. She's worked with thousands of trailblazers in her 15-year career, teaching them how to use their physical, emotional, and mental clutter as transformative tools to get unstuck in any area of their lives. Kerri offers private and group coaching, online courses, and hosts an international online membership community called Clutter Clear Your Life, which I am a founding member of. Her second book, From Clutter to Clarity, Clean Up Your Mindset to Clear Out Your Clutter, is due out this December. So that's her second book, and I literally cannot wait. And I have like master editing skills, so if you know, first release, like I could skim it over for you, you know, because I'm definitely gonna buy it. I'll buy it too, but you know, anyway. So thank you so much for being here, Kerri. As I've told you, I've you know, I'm a raving fan. Kerri has really helped me in my life with clutter, and so I'm thrilled to have you here.
Thank you. I really appreciate you guys having me. I'm honored to be your first guest. I'm honored to be here, and I'm super excited to chat.
Awesome.
Yay. Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah. It's your turn to ask her how she got
This is great. I just want to like sit here and listen to what's going to be talked about.
Sorry,
Okay.
I could talk the whole time, but I'm going to mute myself
so I
can share out.
Yeah, so we talked about, well, this is aligned August for our podcast. And so we're talking about different mindset issues during the month of August. And the episode that dropped today, we specifically talked about like the mindset of clutter and like why it's important to clear your clutter. And Marcia, of course, had told me about your book, and I read it and I was like, this is awesome. So we talked a little bit about your approach to it, because it seems to align with like what we were thinking is like that the clutter is not just the stuff, physical, mental, or emotional, but it represents something else. And it had like, you have like kind of, I hate to say woo woo, but that's like the term that everyone knows. So it's like a little bit more of a woo approach to the clutter. So we wanted to have you on, like talk a little bit more about that, like how you came to that approach and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's I love this topic. Obviously, I'm obsessed because clutter really is just a symptom. And so what's so cool and what's so fun is to kind of dig into what's really the source of that symptom. So, you know, when I started coaching way back in the day, I was just a traditional, like regular life coach, didn't focus specifically on clutter stuff, but was helping people just kind of get from where they were to where they wanted to go, right? That's what life coaches do. And so it can be a really kind of ambiguous and conceptual process and not very tangible and practical. So it can be a bit elusive to a lot of people, like what exactly does a life coach do and how do you do it? And so over time, I started to see really kind of common threads and themes that would emerge in what was stopping people from getting to where they wanted to go. And so framing it in this context of clutter gave them something to sink their teeth into. And it was like, oh, okay, so sure, we can start with physical clutter. Absolutely. If something that is driving you crazy is that stack of papers on your desk, sure, let's go ahead and do that. So using their clutter as really kind of the tools in an experiment. So like their life is a laboratory. These were just some of like, I don't know, the Bunsen burners. Was that a scientific term? Like, you know, in the test tubes and whatever that we can use to see how they operate in their lives. Because, you know, as the saying goes, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you're really avoiding and struggling with clearing physical clutter, you're likely struggling to clear emotional clutter, relationship clutter, mental clutter, body clutter. So yeah, over time I just framed it in that way. And so that's the kind of approach I do now, is it is really kind of a woo-woo and holistic approach to clearing things out, because clutter is just representative of something bigger.
Which I freaking love, because I 100% agree with that. Before I even knew you existed, Kerri, I was getting hypnosis for my clutter issues, because I knew that it was at a subconscious level. And like, even now, you know, it's been a multi-year process, but I look at the chaos that's in my home and it mirrors the chaos that's in my head, because I have so many pots on the burners on the stove, which I don't know why I always use like kitchen references, because I'm like I'm not allowed in there. Like, I'm really bad, but it's like, I don't know. So what I love is that you reframe things in a way that makes people, first of all, there's no shame, which I love about you, because I feel like a lot of people feel like there's either some damage that's, you know, there's something wrong with them, but you're saying no, like it's just, it's a signal. It's telling you that there's something not okay. And that was actually going to be one of my questions was, would you say that physical clutter happens because of mindset clutter? Because I know, after doing a ton of deep diving, that my physical clutter in my house was because we grew up military. So we moved every 2 years, and you don't move trash that you don't use. You just donate it, you get rid of it. And then after I stopped moving with my family, I moved on my own every year or so. So I just didn't grab onto a lot of stuff. And then I've been in my current house with my husband for 10 years, and we've increased the size of our family by 1. And so they've gone through all these different phases, and I just, it really did sneak up on me. And I just looked around and I was like, this isn't normal. Like, we weren't hoarders, but it was like, if we don't take care of this like soon, it's going to be like, you know, HGTV show type situation. So I think, like, I want to know what your thoughts are on that. Like, because it really did like sneak up on us. Like, we were accumulating stuff. People were giving us gifts for the babies, you know, oh, Marcia and Ryan will take an extra couch. Like, we had 3 couches in our living room at one point.
We're good. There's not that many butts in my house.
Yeah. So like, what can you share with people who feel like, who are kind of blind to it? And then like, because when it did happen and I started to see it with like fresh eyes, it kind of, it was like a big punch in the stomach, because I was like, God, this is not good. You know, it's not good for my kid. So,
but this is like, that's what's so interesting. And it's good to have this specific of an example, Marcia, because, you know, when you said you grew up military, and so, you know, you didn't like, you know, really kind of hold on to value a lot of stuff, you left it behind and got other stuff. The other thing that likely came up was you were never really in one place for a long time. So you're likely not going to nest. You're not going to decorate. You're not going to really settle in energetically and fully into your space. And so of course you're just going to have piles around you, because it's like, why am I going to bother, you know, figuring out where I want this to go or decorating this room this way, because in no time we're going to be leaving again. Right. So you were always like, kind of like by the door with your bags packed, you know, figuratively.
That's so fascinating, because like, we don't use the storage. We don't use our attic for storage. We don't use different areas. And I think it's because subconsciously I'm like, well, I don't want to put stuff in the attic. I don't know, but I've never really looked at it that way, because I know that space is there and it could hold stuff. But I'm like, I just kind of want to tip the house and like put it all into a dumpster and just live in a tiny home, you know? And but
because it's going to feel completely foreign to you and really weird to really settle into a space. Even though you've been there 10 years, there's this part of you that's been conditioned to be ready to fly.
Yeah.
So of course you're not going to put stuff in your attic. Yeah.
Kerri, I'm always ready to run. Like, get me out of here.
It does, you know, like you said, our external environment is representative of our internal environment. And it's not just, oh, my mind is racing, so my house is messy. Yes, that can be part of it, but it can go even broader and deeper, like you were just describing, like taking that inventory of your past and going, what is my belief system? How is that contributing to how I live, think, operate in my life? And that's going to be representative in the stuff around you as well. Sometimes, yes, if we're talking physical clutter, sometimes it really is just a time management issue, right? But even a time management issue is going to have layers beneath it. Like that's calendar clutter, as I call it, right? So if the clutter or whatever it is in your life is something that you know you want to get rid of, but you're struggling to do so, then there's more going on. If it's just a carve out the time and make it happen, then it's what I call simple clutter. Very rarely is it that. 90% of the time or more, it's symptomatic clutter, meaning like it's representing something else. And so you want to dig in and see what's the core issue. So the simple, symptomatic, and core clutter. Core clutter, here's what's really cool. No matter the clutter in your life, emotional, mental, physical, body, weight clutter, whatever it is, one of three core causes is at play, or likely a combination of them. So it's going to be unrealistic expectations, limiting beliefs, or lack of boundaries. Some form, variation, or combination of those three is at play. Beliefs is really the engine of the whole machine. And your belief system can show up as a struggle to set boundaries or expecting yourself to do way too much. You know, that's when people think of, I've got to clean out my bedroom closet. And you think of it as the whole, and you're never going to get started because that's way too overwhelming of a project. So unrealistic expectations keeps us stuck in so many areas of our life. Like someday I'm going to write that book. Well, geez, that's kind of like a big undertaking. How about like, and I'm going to start by brainstorming some thoughts and ideas.
Yeah.
You know, small steps for the win for sure.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Karen and I both are like followers of this. It's cultivate what matters. And they do power sheets, and their motto is like, what is Karen?
Little by little, progress adds up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that too about what you're doing in your membership, Kerri, is that you have different areas that are being focused on. And I think that that's like super helpful for people. I'm always like a month behind. Like I just did my linen closet, but it's like you're constantly providing like, you know, ideas of things you can declutter. But yeah, Karen, what are you thinking? Because Karen's like, I don't know if you've heard any of our podcast episodes. We do mention you quite often because I'm obsessed, but like in a non-creepy way, even though I totally started this out in a creepy way, but like, I swear.
Spooky.
Kerri, like, I heard the doorbell for the Zoom. It does the doorbell, and I was like, Kerri, and she was like, oh my God.
Literally chills up my spine. I was like, that was so creepy.
And I was like, well, I'm really creeped out too about going on Facebook Live. So at least we're all freaked out. But yeah. So, but like what Karen is just like my mindset guru, you know, you both. So I want to hear Karen's thoughts on it, because I know she moved back in December and she had mentioned having like boxes left too. So you kind of hit on something there,
October.
But like she had been, it was October. Oh, it was slated for like November, right? And I was like, how did they build a house like before schedule? Like that was fascinating to me. But
wow.
but like I'd love to hear like both of you guys chat, because like I could talk about clutter and I do. So yeah, like the whole mindset thing, Karen, and you know, do you have any questions about your move or?
Yeah, I mean, I always found that when I have clutter, it's related to something else. So like what you said really lands with me, because like even now I have boxes in my room that I'm like, I need to get to that. I need to get to that. And at first I'm like, maybe it's a time thing, but then a pandemic hit and I couldn't go anywhere and I'm still not attacking the boxes. So I was like, maybe it's not a time thing. Maybe it's something else. And when I like look at some of them, there's like old books or things of my kids, like when they were little that they drew and all that I'm like, what am I going to do with it? I don't really want to throw it away. So then I'm like, I know there's an attachment to it. And it's like more than I don't want to get rid of the boxes, because I want to clean out that corner so I can do something else with it. But at the same time, I don't know where else to put the stuff and I don't want to get rid of it. And so it's like avoiding that decision, because it gives me like stress to even think about like, what am I going to do with the stuff? Because I don't want to get rid of it, but I can't keep it where it is. It's like a whole thing. And then I just don't do anything with it.
Yeah. So it sounds like it feels overwhelming, right? Of course. And as long as you're clear on the fact that you absolutely want to keep what's in those boxes, right? So then it's not clutter, because if you want to keep it, it's not clutter. Everyone gets to decide for themselves what clutter is. So then it is finding a home for it. So, although I say if you love it, need it, or use it, then it's not clutter. The other piece that does come into play is our homes are a finite amount of space. Don't I know it? So it's like how much we can have is dependent on the space that we have. So my sense is you probably have the room in your home to store it. But there's something else going on there, because it's not just about let me find a home for it and then I'll put it away. There could be all sorts, especially with, kids stuff from when they were little. That's a big one for women, right? Because it's like, oh my God, that time of their life is over. Like, that whole, if I could just go back and do it differently or do it over or just relive it again because it was so joyous. There's a real grieving and a mourning that has to come with saying goodbye to that time in your kids' lives. And so that could be part of what you're avoiding is the emotions that it may stir up. So I think an important point there, Karen, is that, our feelings are beautiful kind of guideposts of our soul, right? But we as humans tend to intellectualize them, or we assign meaning to them, or we try to fix them, when feelings are really just to be felt. And I know that can feel scary, but I would say go to those boxes and just sit amongst them. Sometimes I'll sit amongst stuff that I'm struggling with, and I'll take out my journal and I'll be like, all right, what's up? What do you want from me? What do I need to know? Like, what feelings are being stirred up in this area? So I can make space for my soul to express itself in that way. It doesn't have to be just about finding a home for it, because clearly there's more tied up in it than that. So give the time to it, to feel whatever comes up.
I love that.
Oh, Karen, can I advocate for you and ask Kerri if maybe it is like a decision fatigue thing? Because Karen has made like a crap ton of like advancement in her business life. So like, do you think it might be that like she just doesn't want to have, because like when your back is up against the fire and you have to like move or something, then you just going through the decisions. But like she knows, like I'm in my forever home. There's no sense of urgency. So do you think that could possibly be
absolutely a thing? Yeah. If that was recent, you could just be wiped out. You could just be exhausted. Right. And so then it's like, give yourself a break. You know what? I'm going to press pause on those boxes, let them hang out there for a bit so I can take a beat. And because you're going to make a much clearer decision moving forward with whatever it is you keep and where it's going to live. But right now, if you're pushing yourself beyond the brink of exhaustion, then you're actually developing a really negative correlation with creating space in your life. So we want you to be in charge of your stuff and it not in charge of you. So if right now those boxes need to hang out there for a few more weeks, a few more months, even, you can give yourself a deadline. It's like, you know what, I'm going to decide by the turn of the year, I'm just going to make that up, where that stuff is going to go. Then it's like, then you can exhale, because it's like, all right, decision made. It's going to wait. That's fine.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And it does kind of give you back some control if you're like, okay, I'm going to deal with it at this point, but not right now.
Yeah. So essentially it is being dealt with, right? Because it's scheduled for another time. It's not just like you're not blowing it off or procrastinating. You are intentionally pressing pause. That's very different. Yeah. So it reclaims your power. It's like, I'm going to press pause on that project and I'm going to catch my breath.
Karen, how do you feel? Because I feel like when Kerri said that, like, if it's something that you want and you need and you're holding on to, it's not clutter. Like, did that make you feel amazing? Because that made me feel really good for you.
Yeah, that's a very different way to think of it, because we tend to just think of the stuff that we have like it's all cluttery, like it's all clutter. And it's it's not all clutter. Like if it has a place, it has a purpose, it's not just, in the way.
If it has a place and a purpose in your heart, then it's not clutter. Like people come to me and they'll be like, I know I have 1,000 books and I'm so scared you're going to make me get rid of 800 of them. And I'm like, no. Do you love all 1,000 of them? Yeah, they're in my library and it's beautiful. And I walk into that room and it brings me joy. I'm like, then they're not clutter. Like there's no one size fits all. It's like there's no like you should only have 30 books and you should only have 20. It's like no, you could have 100 pairs of shoes. I don't care. Like what brings you joy? What makes you feel happy? What there's no formula, and nor should there be. That's where the shame comes in. It's like we gotta cut that out. You get to decide whatever you love, need, or use, you get to keep.
I
love
see.
that.
You guys are welcome for me bringing Kerri to you. That's like, I feel like that's such a big like thing that people and it's part society. Like we're meant to feel like if you do love shoes, then you're just this vain person who, you know, only cares about your looks or whatever. But it's like, no, if it literally makes you show up differently, like somebody could be wearing like stilettos on a Zoom, you know, and it's like if that's what makes you sit up taller and like be, you know. And so I just love that about you, Kerri, because I think that that's magical to be able to help people in a way that just opens their eyes, as opposed to make them feel like, you know, you're going to shame them into doing things, because we all know that doesn't work. Like with diets and with, you know, like that kind of like the restrictive, like demeaning type of coaching or whatever, like it's it's not effective in the long term, because you do hurt your heart and then you like stop trusting yourself and
exactly. Yes.
I have goosebumps.
Yeah. It is all about, you know, long-standing change never comes from a self-punitive place. It doesn't. You can really push yourself and like crack the whip, be like, yeah, I'm gonna get this done. 3 months later, whatever it was what that project was is going to erupt again. It's just, you've got to build out the foundation, and the foundation is what's going on under that stuff. Like what are the stories I tell myself about that stuff that's going to speak to like belief systems? How do I talk myself out of working on something I say I want to do? And this can be anything. It can be starting a podcast, it can be writing a book, it can be doing Facebook Lives, it can be cleaning out your closet. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do in your life, if you're not doing it, pay attention to how you talk yourself out of doing it. And that's going to be like a flashing neon sign to your belief system.
I love that, because I think that it just like, it gives you the permission to not be so hard on yourself.
Yes.
Like, you know, and just really think differently about the stuff. And I love how, you know, you talk about not just physical clutter, but like the emotional, the mental, and the body. I was like, oh, this is a new one. I like that one too. So
yes, that's my most
so many different
that's
kinds.
my most stubborn form of clutter in my life is my weight. I can get rid of stuff left and right. I don't have attachments to physical items. Sure, I have some, you know, I have a little box of memories of, you know, maybe my college yearbook, or, you know, I mean, I'm not heartless, but I can get rid of physical stuff easily. But body clutter is my most trying form of clutter throughout my life. And so throughout my life, as I've peeled back the layers on what purpose is this clutter serving in my life, what is the benefit I'm getting out of holding on to weight, that's going to help me figure out how to get that met in a healthier way. And so I don't need the weight clutter anymore, right? So it's all about belief systems. So for me, there was beliefs around it's not safe to be vulnerable, it's not safe to be seen or to shine. You don't want to draw attention to yourself, which is so ironic, right? Because you think, well, the bigger you are, the more visible you are. But my inner light, right, my little spirit gets really dim under the pounds. So although I'm physically bigger, I feel much smaller. And I feel like I fade into the background of society, which is where my beliefs tells me it's safer to be. So I can remember a time when I lost a significant amount of weight in my life, and I was sitting there and I was like, check me out. And so that's funny story I tell is I was in a meeting and I noticed that I was sitting lower in the chair. Like I couldn't see around the person in front of me. And, you know, we all kind of sat in the same seats, and I thought the chair was broken. And I'm like, what the heck? And I'm looking down and no, my butt was smaller. Because I had lost so much weight. So I was sitting lower in the seat and I was like, oh my God, go me, like, check me out. This is so great. And I felt really small in that seat, which for a second felt exciting. And then immediately felt terrifying. It was like a wave of fear came over, and the word meek kept coming up in my head. And I was like, God, I feel so vulnerable. And it wasn't long after that that I started to put the weight back on. It was like, ooh, it's not safe to be small like that. Even though I was physically the strongest I had ever been, I was working out, I was healthy, I was strong, but I was smaller. And to me, it's not safe to be attractive. That's another belief system from when I was child, that you'll attract the wrong kind of attention. And it's not, and you'll be judged, attractive women are judged, you don't want to, so it's just not safe to be attractive, and it's not safe to feel weak or vulnerable. So I'm still peeling the layers, clearly. But it's like I'm working on layers over and over and over again. And that's the thing with like, whatever you find out is going on under your type of, whatever your clutter hotspot is, and there can be many, that there's going to be more layers, right? It's not just one and done, unfortunately, but then also kind of cool, because you realize like, whoa, there's so much more I can learn about myself through this avenue than I ever thought. So that's why I kind of geek out about it, because it's cool.
Yeah, and that's Karen and I talk about that like in every episode of the podcast, is like the growth, when you're on the growth mindset and on the journey, like there is no destination point. Like you're constantly going to be unpacking stuff. And I feel like so many women can relate to what you're saying about the weight thing, because if you are attractive, like people assume that you're an idiot or that you're using it, like it's just there's all of these issues that come across with like being visible. And I think that's why a lot of people don't reach their true potential. And it is like fear of being judged, or it is actually like, it's not safe for women to embrace their full power. Like there was a judge who her son was murdered because of like a disgruntled lawyer. He found her information, and like it's disgusting, but it sucks. But that's why we're doing what we're doing, why we're having honest conversations, so that we can share with women. Like the more of us there are that are out there that are like living our true power and like showing up, the more women that are going to see that and be inspired and say, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to do it with my knees shaking. But I'm going to do it because she needs a friend. She needs a friend. We need to like stick up for each other, and it's,
that's huge.
Yeah.
The women supporting women is really just so needed. And so that opposite of that, I'm going to be criticized and judged. And, if I shine too brightly, like, who do I think I am? All that kind of stuff. It's like, when you feel that, who do I think I am? We need a tribe of women to come up and say, here's who you are. You're amazing and strong and magnificent. And like, it sounds totally cheesy, but it is, when I think about the power the supportive women can have for each other, it is literally life-changing and world-changing.
Yes.
If we can just rise up and celebrate each other instead of knocking each other down. Like if you find that you're knocking people down, turn that focus inward, because clearly you're lacking something. Like hurt people, right? So if you could just turn that around on yourself, like, and even those of us you're criticizing will stand around and hold you up as you do.
Right. Yeah. Because and that's what I say too about like, whenever you're envious or jealous of someone, Tara Moore talks about this. She's like, it's not necessarily that you're envious of her. She's pointing out something to you that you want in your life, or it's just validating a belief that you have. So if somebody has a political belief, or like a pro-choice or pro-life or whatever, like it's just something that either contradicts what you believe in, but like you don't have to turn that hatred, you don't have to turn it into hatred. You just need to realize that's just helping you to understand your stance better, or like open your eyes to what you want in your own life,
Yeah, it's that whole idea of like the shadow side, right? That old Jungian philosophy, and then Debbie Ford wrote about it in her books, our shadow side versus our light side. So like for me, one of my belief systems tells me that it's not okay to be needy, that needy people are just, they're just the worst, right? So one of my sisters is extremely needy. Now meaning that she is very comfortable in asking for what she needs. For me, it's like, but what she's doing is she's modeling my shadow side, where it's like, instead of being annoyed at how vocal she is in asking for help, maybe I could learn a thing or two from that, so it's like my pendulum's way over here, hers is way over here. I could at least move in that direction. So yeah, when someone pushes your buttons, it's like, what if I were to be more like them? Clearly I got to move in that direction.
Yeah, Kerri, I appreciate it because I put out a call and said, hey guys, it's the pandemic. My husband hasn't worked for 8 weeks. I need some monies. Can you people hire me? And you hired me. And I was just like so excited that you had me work for you on something. But I was like, we need to get you visible. And I know because I know like you're selling books and everything, but I feel like what you have, the courses you have, the membership you have, like it's so much, it's so big and so expansive. And I know it's terrifying, but I'm like, I will make it my life's mission to get Kerri in front of everybody's face. Because like you've made so many changes in
not
my
a scary
life.
way.
Right. Not as scary.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever, guys. Okay, I'm a bit intense. Like it's just
that's what we love about you. Come on.
But but I mean it's we need people to you need to, like you said, or I need to stop saying like you said, because I always change because I hear stuff differently. But with your sister being needy, like you need to be a little more needy and just say to people like, hey, can you share my stuff? And then like the people who give you, like you need to be in front of more people so that you can make the impact that you can make. Because Karen and I, like Karen read the book and you just have a very enlightening education on clutter, like the body weight clutter. Like the first time I heard that, I was like, ooh, like it was so deep. And so
Thank you.
Start asking.
Try. Thank you.
All right, we're 2 minutes over. Bye. No, I'm just kidding.
Bye.
I can't hit end. I can leave though, but I can't hit end. That used to
You're not the boss of this meeting.
Well, this has been great. We're so happy that you were able to come on, and we appreciate you being our first Convos Continued guest.
Yay. Thank you for having me.
And we'll link up like how you can find Kerri. I'll edit the description. So give me a couple of minutes and I'll do that so that you guys can find her on social media and check out her book. I'll put a link to that too. And we just really appreciate having you. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kerri and Karen.
You're welcome. Bye.